In 2025, Germany's Federal Audit Court issued a withering review of 9 billion euros in national hydrogen spending. The verdict was brutal. Funds disbursed, targets missed, industrial capacity not delivered. The same year, in the Korean industrial city of Ulsan, Hyundai broke ground on its third fuel cell factory. His name is Euisun Chung, 54 years old, chairman of Hyundai Motor Group. In March 2021, while European energy ministers were still arguing over hydrogen color classifications, Chung broke ground on a $1.1 billion fuel cell plant in Guangzhou, China, the first overseas hydrogen production facility of its scale anywhere on Earth. Today, 33% of every hydrogen fuel cell vehicle operating on the planet is in South Korea. Not Germany, not Japan, not the United States. Korea, a country smaller in landmass than England. By the end of this video, you'll know three things. You'll know how a single piece of legislation passed in Seoul in January 2020 quietly buried a decade of European planning. You'll know the name of the engineer who built the system that now powers a third of the world's hydrogen vehicles, a man named Saehoon Kim. You'll know why Germany is staring at a 45 billion euro funding hole that nobody in Berlin knows how to fill. If you're new here, this is Empire Files, where we track how industrial power changes hands while the world is watching the wrong door. Hit subscribe. The case files come every Friday. Rewind to 2019. South Korea publishes a document most Western analysts ignored. They call it the Hydrogen Economy Roadmap of Korea. President Moon Jae-in's government commits to 6.2 million fuel cell electric vehicles on Korean infrastructure by 2040, 2.9 million for domestic use, 3.3 million for export. In January 2020, the Korean National Assembly passes the world's first national hydrogen law. It binds production targets, safety standards, certification rules, and subsidy structures into a single legal framework. The legislation goes into force in 2021. This is the moment the West loses the race. They just don't know it yet. Korea isn't treating hydrogen as a climate strategy. They're treating it as industrial succession, the same way Japan handled consumer electronics in the 1970s. The same way Germany handled automobiles in the 1950s. A bet on what comes next, executed with state coordination, private capital, and a refusal to debate. Within 3 years, Korea's industrial conglomerates pledged $39 billion in hydrogen-related capital commitments. Hyundai, SK Group, POSCO, Doosan, Hanwha, not press releases, filed commitments tracked in disclosure documents. Hyundai moves first. In 2018, 4 years after Toyota launched the Mirai sedan, Hyundai launches the Nexo crossover. By the third quarter of 2022, the Nexo holds 59.7% of the global hydrogen passenger vehicle market. Toyota's market share collapses to 20.6%. Honda shuts down its Clarity model in June 2021. Exit confirmed. In the inland city of Chungju, Hyundai operates what industry researchers describe as the world's first mass production line for vehicle fuel cells. In March 2021, Hyundai breaks ground on the second plant in Guangzhou. 8.5 billion yuan, 202,000 square meters, capacity of 6,500 fuel cell systems per year. The Chinese government issues a memorandum of understanding to purchase 1,500 commercial hydrogen vehicles inside 36 months. In October 2025, Hyundai breaks ground on a third Korean facility, 930 billion won, dedicated to next-generation hydrogen fuel cells and electrolyzers under their HTWO brand. While this is happening, here is what Germany is doing. In June 2020, Berlin announces the country's national hydrogen strategy. 7 billion euros plus another 2 billion euros for international partnerships. Newspapers call it a continental moonshot. 5 years later, Germany's Federal Audit Court, the Bundesrechnungshof, releases its review. Goals not met, money spent, capacity not delivered. By late 2024, 20.3% of every announced European hydrogen project, 29.2 gigawatts of capacity, is cancelled or indefinitely delayed. In Norway alone, Equinor cancels 10 gigawatts of planned green hydrogen production after the pipeline, meant to carry it to Germany, becomes economically impossible. In August 2025, Deutsche Regas walks away from 112 million euros of approved European Union subsidies because Germany still hasn't transposed the Renewable Energy Directive into national law. The Institute for Energy Economics and Financial Analysis publishes a forecast. To rescue Germany's hydrogen pipeline network from underutilization, German taxpayers may need to underwrite another 45 billion euros of public funding, roughly 1,000 euros for every German citizen. Here is where the West misread the entire industry. Hydrogen wasn't one market. It was a stack: cars, buses, heavy-duty trucks, stationary fuel cells for backup power, steel furnaces, cargo ships, aviation, industrial process heat. Each layer required its own supply chain: electrolyzers, storage tanks, refueling networks, fuel cell stacks, certification systems, national safety regulation. Korea built the law first, then the vehicles, then the buses, then the factories, then the export contracts. By July 2024, 1,000 hydrogen buses operate on Korean roads. The 2030 target is 21,200, a full quarter of the country's metropolitan bus fleet. There are commitments to 1,200 hydrogen refueling stations by 2040. Ulsan dominates the Asia-Pacific market in large-scale stationary fuel cells. POSCO is converting its steel furnaces to hydrogen reduction technology. Each layer reinforces the next. Vertical integration. The same playbook Samsung ran to take memory chips. The same playbook Hyundai Heavy Industries ran to take shipbuilding. Saehoon Kim, the executive who runs Hyundai's fuel cell center, said something quiet in 2021 that nobody in the West paid attention to. The goal, he said, was not to lead a clean energy transition. The goal was to make hydrogen as ordinary as gasoline. Less philosophy, more throughput. Meanwhile, in the United States, the consumer-end hydrogen industry is effectively a Korean export market. 24.3% of global hydrogen fuel cell vehicle operations occur in America, almost all in California, almost all running on Korean fuel cell stacks. The American hydrogen truck startup Nikola Motor, once valued at roughly $30 billion on the public markets, filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy on February 19, 2025. 4 years earlier, its founder, Trevor Milton, was convicted of 1 count of securities fraud and 2 counts of wire fraud. The sentence: 4 years in federal prison, $1 million in fines, $168 million in restitution. In March 2025, President Donald Trump pardoned him. The American hydrogen brand died. The Korean one shipped its 3rd factory. The hydrogen race wasn't lost in a boardroom. It wasn't lost to a competitor. It was lost in a calendar, measured in years that nobody in Berlin, Brussels, or Washington bothered to count. While the West was drafting frameworks, Korea was pouring concrete. While the West was issuing white papers, Hyundai was shipping units. While Germany's Federal Audit Court was preparing its verdict, Hyundai's Chung plant was already on its 2nd expansion. Empires don't fall to invasion. They fall to the country that quietly built the factory while everyone else was still writing the press release. Next case file drops Friday. Subscribe so you don't miss it.